Okay, I think we have maybe not everyone, but most people. So I'm going to get started so that we stay approximately on time. So welcome to one of the first workshops of the JSF this year. And I'm going to be talking about online and hybrid options when we don't actually have to do it due to a world pandemic. So this is going to be a workshop, so a hands-on component, but I'm going to start with an introduction talk and then we will go over to try some of these environments ourselves. So good morning, everyone, if you're in Japan, and good afternoon or evening if you're elsewhere. My name is Elizabeth Tasker. I work at the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, and I'm also a member of the Future of Meetings team, which are a group of people who are interested in improving and facilitating online options for better online connections. So these are my team members, and this is important because you may very well run into them in the virtual spaces that we try today. So thank you very much to all of these people who have helped me hugely put both this workshop together and also our networking lunch that I hope you will also attend later in Gathertown. So first of all, I wanted to sort of make an obvious point about online meetings and say that it's really important, if you want to reach people, that you do offer events online. And the very almost trivial example I'm going to demonstrate is to say all of these little telescopes here mark planetariums in the UK. Now, when I was growing up in the UK, I lived close enough that it was possible to reach the London Planetarium. And I went there when I was 9 years old with my dad, and I was very inspired by the whole experience. And it was certainly a factor in that made me later become an astrophysicist. But the probability of us actually living close enough that you could take a 9-year-old to a planetarium is fairly low. And this is modern day planetariums. I guess when I was 9, there was even fewer. So you cannot rely on online events to reach people. They're going to be, at the very least, limited to those who live close by. On the other hand, an online event only actually requires an internet connection. So it is a way of bringing whatever event, whatever information you want to share with people to a vastly, vastly wider audience. And this can make a huge impact on people's lives. Now, we can put this more quantitatively as well by saying quite firmly, online is not optional. And there are lots of reasons for that. Now, obviously, the last 2 years, we have seen illness being a very big factor in stopping us having online events because of a world pandemic. But I have heard it is possible to get illnesses other than COVID, which might also stop you going to an online event. And many people are also immunosuppressed. So it's actually, regardless of whether there's COVID or not, it's fairly dangerous to go to a very big area of people, or they may have chronic illness themselves and not be able to travel even a modicum amount to attend an in-person event. And there's lots and lots of other reasons why in-person events are incredibly difficult for a large fraction of the population. You might have caring duties. You can't leave your toddler at home for the whole evening alone, I've heard. Also, there are other factors such as climate change. We're getting to the point now where we really do have to take this seriously. It's going to lead to a lot of rising fuel prices, among other things. And large-scale travel is going to become, I think, steadily more and more difficult. Linked with that, of course, travel costs. So even if, you're not personally invested in the climate change, it may just simply be that you can't afford the fuel to go long distance now. Disability is not easy for everyone to go to a venue. If you have limited mobility, even the fact the venue may have stairs may be just too difficult to go before you even start talking about buses and trains. Politics, if your venue is, for instance, abroad or an international conference, we've seen recently that can be very difficult. I think there was an IAU meeting for the International Astronomy Union where they suddenly hit a problem with visas being issued, and it just cut out a huge swath of people who were due to attend in person and they couldn't come. And then, of course, stress and mental health. I mean, all these things add up, and it can just be very, very difficult for people to attend. And more quantitatively, this has been reported on in several journals, especially because COVID was an opportunity to see what happened if you forced everything online. And the answer was that while you may or may not have enjoyed the experience, diversity and inclusion soared when you moved international meetings online. Now, if that is true for international conferences where really your job depends on you attending, it's going to be true for almost, well, I would say all online events. Like you are cutting out a huge percentage of the population by insisting on staying in person. And this was a paper actually written by the Future of Meetings team, where I like the terminology they used, where it says forging a path towards a better normal. We've been talking a lot about returning to normal, but the bottom line was normal never really suited most people. So wouldn't it be better to move onwards from here to go to something that actually is more inclusive, where more people can attend? So with that in mind, I want to make one very, very important point. And that is, online is not about compromise. It's not about saying, oh, well, you're right, accessibility is important, therefore we will compromise our experience to go online. Instead, it's about saying, let's make online great. So we do not compromise anything, and it can be just as good as in person. If not, I would argue better. So I don't think it's about going back to the way things were in 2019, and I don't think it's about compromise. I think it's about saying online is absolutely essential, and it's worth putting time in to make it the best it can possibly be. So with that in mind, I'd like to play a short video that the Future of Meetings team put together a little while ago to look at what is offered by different online platforms and how they might actually take us from not only an experience as good as in person, but actually beyond the being there experience to see what could come close, what could come to us in the future.
Hello, I'm Ron Ekus, and we are gathered here at the Virtual Parks Radio Telescope to represent the Future of Meetings community. But how about we move up into the dish instead? With this video, we'd like to get you thinking about some what-if scenarios when it comes to planning the future of our meetings, conferences, and collaborations. Only your imagination need limit the spaces where we can meet.
What if we could meet and collaborate with people from all around the world, regardless of where you're physically located?
What if technology allowed the same togetherness with others informally, being together socially even while at a distance?
What if you could give a talk and have all the benefits of being on stage, but with an audience distributed around the world?
What if we could link real data to virtual objects and bring new ideas to life with collaborators around the world?
What if technology could allow you to experience different places and cultures with your friends and colleagues without ever having to travel anywhere?
Avete mai immaginato di fare una presentazione nella vostra lingua preferita e che tutti i partecipanti la potessero seguire nella loro? What if you could give a talk in your preferred language and everyone watching could experience it in theirs?
What if we could meet in a place that goes beyond being there, somewhere humans cannot reach?
So this video showed a series of different online platforms where you can interact, socialize, and meet with people. Now, the first of these was Gather, and the last of these was Mozilla Hubs, and we will try them both later. But one of the things they all have in common is that they have the ability to have simultaneous conversations within a group. And I think this is one of the things that people find most difficult with online meetings when they're held on Zoom or YouTube. It's very hard for more than one person to do the talking. And that makes the interactions pretty forced or sometimes zero. So you never really get the networking or the natural conversation that you would do in person. However, if you have a platform which has an avatar, then you get an actual space, an actual location within that virtual space. And this allows you to have audio fall off and directional audio if you're in 3 dimensions. And that means you can have a large room of people full of avatars all talking at once, but whether you hear them depends on how far away you are from them. So just like being in a busy room of people, you can move between different conversations. You can organically overhear things that are interesting and go and join that group. And you can have interactions that are the same as in person and avoid this forced interaction that we have to do here on Zoom. Next slide, yes. So another factor that you can have in these virtual spaces, because you have an avatar and you have an actual location, you can also have things of interest like whiteboards or models or anything that just catches your eye, and you can go and look at these. And this is great also for explaining things, because models and images and diagrams all help, but also for conversation and interactions, because just like in real life, you can all gather around an interesting area. And then finally, you can do things that you simply cannot do in person. And the second demonstration that we're going to do today on Mozilla Hubs is going to touch on this, where we go to spaces that are actually impossible to access in person, but you can access them virtually if you build the world. So the bottom line is that you can have interactions that are just like being in person when you're talking to people. And you can actually have them in locations that go far beyond anything you could get in a conference hall. So I'm going to talk and demonstrate 2 different types of spaces today. The first is 2-dimensional spaces. And an example of this is GatherTown, which we are going to try shortly, and we'll also try for the networking lunch today. And this has a slightly 1980s, 1990s computer game feel to it. You are pixelated, which I find really cute. I like the graphics for GatherTown a lot. And as you can see here, we're having one of our meetings for the future meetings. And we've also seemed to have found a Pikachu and a dog. And here, proximity is controlled. So when you approach a person, you'll see that you can start to hear them, but also their web camera will pop up at the top, so you'll even be able to see them. And there are similar spaces that work in almost exactly the same way, just with different types of graphics. Kumo Space is one. In Kumo Space, your avatar actually is your webcam, or it's a static photo of you if you have your webcam turned off. And then Spatial Chat, I think it's the same. You walk around as a miniature webcam. And Kumo Space was actually used recently for the Communicating Astronomy to the Public conference that was held hybrid. So it's in person in Sydney, and then they had an online component. And the online component, people could also join Kumo Space to ask their questions. And it was better than just using a standard chat function, because you asked your questions and everyone in the room could still see that question. So there's often be replies or conversations, or, oh, I haven't thought of that, that you would also get in a more in-person setting. But fundamentally, these all work the same way. You don't have directional audio in 2D. The audio is either on or off. Basically, you're close enough to a person to hear them, or you're too far away and you cannot. So the second type of space we're going to see is going to have directional audio. And these are 3D virtual reality spaces. Now, even though they are virtual reality, you can access them all from a desktop or laptop. You do not need a VR headset for these. But if you have a VR headset, you could also use one. And these are AltSpace VR. Mozilla Hubs is the one we're going to try. There's also Cluster, which is a Japan-based system, and Glue. And they are all free up to a certain limit of people. And as I said, they are all cross-platform, so you can use VR or you can use your desktop or laptop. And in these cases, you do have fully directional audio, so I can hear if you're to the left of me, to the right of me. If you're behind me, I can just turn around and be like, oh, okay, you're there. And this allows you most easily to move between conversations and chat to people. So with no further ado, let's try out one of these platforms and see what we think. So link in chat, right? I should put the link in chat. Give me a moment. So you have 2 choices here. One is you can join this link here. And this will just take you to a place in your browser, and you can join the space. You can also, if you don't fancy that, stay here on Zoom, because at this point I am going to ask Lucy to assist me. Lucy, can you turn your webcam on and reassure me you're here? So I've asked Lucy to join this space and share her screen. Now, I could have done this myself, but of course I've been into Gather several times before, so I thought it might be more fun for Lucy to share her screen, and we can guide her around the space either from inside Gather or from Zoom. Now, just before Lucy does that, you are not just there to have fun. You have 5 challenges while you're in that space, and Lucy will also be doing these live on Zoom. So the first challenge when you get into the space is a proximity test. So this is what I wanted you to see in terms of how when you approach someone, you see their webcam come on, and you would also be able to hear them, but be a little careful with that because there'll still be sound coming from Zoom. So it'll be a bit confusing with two programs emitting sound. But your test is to at least run up to someone and see their webcam light up. So please turn your webcams on so other people can see that. Your second challenge is to explore the space and find and play a video. Your third challenge, and I will say these are getting steadily harder, is to find a jigsaw somewhere in that space and add a piece to the picture. Your fourth is to find a pumpkin. I promise you there is pumpkins somewhere in the space, but you have to hunt for them. And your final challenge is to find the Miro board and add a post-it note to it. Now, remember to keep your ears on Zoom and remember to come back. So I'm only going to open this up. We started a bit late, so I will open it up between 10 and 15 minutes. So let's all make sure we're back here by 11:35.
And Elizabeth, when I start sharing my screen, you'll need to stop sharing your screen.
I will need to stop sharing my screen. So let me just add my challenges. I'm going to add them to the chat as well, so everyone can still see them. There they are. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that Lucy can share hers. Here we go.
Okay, for those who are going to watch me and try to direct me, can you hear and see me okay?
I can.
Okay, that's great.
So hopefully everyone else can too.
All right.
Okay. So Lucy, you've linked to the start of the Gather, and now it's time to join. So what you've done is you've got an avatar on your left and you've entered your name on your right, and you can change your avatar to look however your pixelated self wants to look. Yeah, sorry, Rika's just Rika briefly distracted me with a comment in chat where she's like, you should finish the jigsaw, but it's 600 pieces, guys. I do not need you to finish the jigsaw. Just put one piece in there.
Okay.
Right, so Lucy has picked obviously what is a very clear, accurate representation of herself. I have to say one of the things I like about these virtual spaces is you can look any way you like, and I find that fabulous. I normally have blue skin. So she can pick her clothing, her hair, anything, your favorite, Street Fighter 2 pose from 80s computer games can be your desire. I like the eye patch, Lucy, it suits you.
Okay.
And when she's finished that, she could join the gathering, and this will take you into the Gather space. So here we go. Now, if you see someone, as you see here, with a yellow hat marked T-form, they are one of my Future Meetings friends. They should know what they're doing. So you can go up and talk to them if you have any questions, or you can just throw them into the chat here and I will try and answer them. Great, it looks like a lot of you have got in. That's very, very promising. So Lucy, challenge 1, run up to somebody and see if their video appears.
Sorry, I seem to be having a few technical issues.
Oh, sorry, I should probably explain to move. Maybe that would help. To move, please use the arrow keys, or you can use WASD.
Maybe that will. So mine doesn't seem to be moving.
Oh my goodness, we've already got a disaster. Oh, but people are coming up to you, so they're going to help you solve this challenge. So if they're approaching you, even though you can't move, you do see the webcams appearing on the screen above you.
There we go.
And you'll see as they move away, their camera disappears. Hi, Christine. I can see you on that webcam. Hi, Alana, I can see you too. So when you're in a proximity, their camera will appear and you can hear them. And if you flee the scene because you just do not want to talk to them anymore, that's fine. They just automatically disappear unless they follow you. So that's looking good, Lucy. How about challenge number 2? Can you find a video and play it?
Okay.
As a clue, you are surrounded by videos. Oh, there we go. So to interact with an object, you need to hit the X key. Oh, looking good.
This is how it goes. There we go.
Yep, here we go. So these are actually demos of other virtual spaces that we did, and we made little videos of them, and then we put them in a virtual space in a very Inception-like way. So well done, Lucy. You have completed the first 2 challenges. Now things get more difficult. Can you find a jigsaw?
Right.
Yes, that room looks promising. It's looking like a social room. Oh, and there's suspiciously people crowded around a board. That's a good sign as well. So just give it a moment to load. Oh, there you go. So, you know, you can just finish that. Great. So you just need to grab a piece and then you can put it in the center and you can rearrange it. And yeah, I certainly would not like particularly to take that jigsaw on, but you can see the principle that with enough of us, if we all crowded around, we might possibly get it done, just not perhaps today. So when you're done with that, yes, you hit the X in the top right-hand corner, and that brings you back into the room. So now a pumpkin. So let's have a look. If I give you a clue, the pumpkins are not decoration per se, they're actually growing outside. There we go. Welcome to the huge garden we have just added on to this room. And there are your pumpkins. So another great thing about virtual space is you don't have to worry too much about real estate. It's quite easy to have a gigantic garden backing onto your small conference center, which is not something I can personally do in my Tokyo apartment, I have to say. So there's a patch of pumpkins there. There's actually another bigger patch if you cross the river. If I remember correctly.
I can't seem to walk through trees, but that's okay.
That's normal, Lucy.
All right, I found a pumpkin.
There we go. Excellent. Great. Okay, so final challenge. Can you put a post-it on a Miro board?
I feel like that's an inside.
Yes. So you have to find your way back, which is an added challenge. Oh, so actually, Lucy, go back down. I might just describe what you just found accidentally. Yeah, so if you go to that table with all the chairs around it, you see it now flashes up saying you have entered a private area. And these are areas where if you're, thank you, Aidan and Alana have just joined us here. These are areas where if you're inside that, you can hear everyone in that area and they can all hear you, but you can't hear anyone outside the area. So it's great for breakout groups. And in fact, we would have used these for the lunchtime networking session, but because the Japan SciComm forum is quite large and we might get several hundred people, it becomes difficult if all like 30 or 40 webcams all connected to each other. So we had to use separate rooms. But if you have a smaller group, these are fabulous because you can just walk into these areas and form a mini meeting. Everyone's neatly sat on chairs. Thank you, everyone. That's great. You're all very tidy.
Right. Again, what's this? Okay.
Yeah, so when you have gather meeting spaces, you can scatter these like private little units, and then people can gather and have little breakout sessions of their own. But Lucy, you need to find your way back to the main room.
That seems to be what I'm a bit of a challenge.
So I will give you a clue that you came in near the top of the map and that you came through a portal, and that Tory gates are kind of like portals.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Excellent. Oh, you're in quite a good space. I might. You might want to go back there.
Oh.
Because the one space we haven't been in yet.
This is the sticky note?
That's a Google Doc, not a sticky note.
Oh, but there are people up here. What's going on up here?
Okay, hit X for. Oh, you're not quite. Oh, is this? Oh, this is the whiteboard. Is this the whiteboard or the my report? Oh, this is my report. Yeah.
All right, I don't want to be here.
Yes, you do. Stop.
Oh, okay.
Oh. This is the right place. It's the my report. So see the board. And then you can see we have some suggestions of what to write in a post-it note, depending on what you feel about online meetings. I think you can Zoom as well. Maybe just roll your mouse button or use the buttons. Yeah, there. If you want to write a post-it, you can just grab, oh yeah, you could do that, but you could also just physically grab one of the empty ones on the left of those boards and then type on them. Yeah. Or you can make it really big. That's cool too. That's fine. You can see it more clearly that way. Yay. Perfect. Well done, Lucy. You are successful. Do I have an applause on Zoom? I do. Yeah. Applause. Okay, everyone, can I drag you back off the gather space and send you back to Zoom? Rika or Aidan, if you're there, could you maybe megaphone inside gather space and shoo people back onto Zoom? Okay, I'm going to share my screen again while we're just coming back. My computer is like, do you want to do a software update? I'm like, no, I do not. Oh, thanks, Alana. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So you have another chance to try out Gather at the lunchtime networking sessions, and you'll find yourself in another space to explore that was beautifully designed by Rika. And you'll find that the 6 talks are all held in rooms leading off from the main area, all with beautiful Japanese themes. So you can go and admire the Gather Town tatami mats. I was very impressed by that. So the only thing that is different in the networking session you'll do at lunchtime is that in order to make sure you are heard by your whole room, if you are the speaker or you are asking a question, you will see there are orange circles. And if you stand in one of those, you will be megaphoned. And at that point, everybody can hear you. So that is the only tip I'm going to give for lunchtime. Apart from that, it works the same. Great. Okay, so I have to admit, the second demo is a little more challenging. So what was our final count? Did you say 40, Vanessa? Okay, 40 people in here plus organizers-ish? Right. So, oh yeah, these are the 4 challenges, but Lucy did them all, so we can skip this slide. Let me skip. No. Oh, okay, so that was a 2D one. It's time to go 3D. Now, 3D is fabulous, but it is more computer intensive. So that means we are limited to the number of people I can put in any one space. In particular, the platform we're going to use has what is actually a fairly standard head count of about 25 people per space. So we have multiple spaces we can use, and I am going to scatter my T-form friends among those spaces. So the 2 spaces we're going to use are, we're going to use one that is of asteroid Ryugu, and we're going to use one that is of an underwater palace. And you can join whichever one you like, but please try and divide roughly evenly between the 2. Let me just put the links. Okay, so here is asteroid Ryugu. And here is Underwater Palace. So this is Mozilla Hubs. Now, again, you can move with the arrow keys or WASD. If you want to turn around, because you're in a 3D space, you use your left mouse button and then just move the mouse. If you want to teleport, so you just want to jump to another area, which can be handy if you're stuck on stairs, it's the right mouse button. And there is also a pen. There you go, that's a teleport there on the little movie. Teleport again. I'm going to demonstrate the pen shortly. Let's go into this space. We're going to go around to the left because I recorded this last night, so I know. Oh, teleport, zoom. That's a quicker way of moving. And I found a very nice goldfish tank, but now I'm going to get out a pen by clicking on place down below, finding a pen, and just drawing madly on this screen. Okay. So there's more details of the controls also at this link, which I will also put in chat. Okay. I will try and put in chat. Maybe I can't copy it. Ah! Okay, I'm not going to put that in chat. Hello. Sorry, guys, you'll have to copy the link. So hello. In this case, you have another 3 missions once you're inside. The first is to explore the landscape, which is your first challenge, moving around that 3D space. Then I'd like to see if you can find someone in a VR headset. Now, how will you know this? I know you're wondering. And the answer is, one thing the VR headset gives you very visibly is hands, because you've got 2 controllers. Oops, sorry, where's my webcam? There we go, hands. So you should see somebody who has an avatar where hands clearly work, and they will actually be one of my T-form friends. And yes, you should be able, I hope you'll be able to spot them. It'll be an interesting test. And it works also similarly with proximity. The closer you are to someone, you can hear them, but you don't get a webcam image in this instance. And then if you're feeling confident about moving around and you want to explore a bit more, somewhere in both the scenes, I have hidden a spacecraft. In fact, I've hidden the Hayabusa 2 spacecraft that visited asteroid Ryugu. And I want you to find this, find your pen and graffiti it. And you should remember to never do this to a real spacecraft. But in virtual reality, you most certainly can. So in this case, I might join you and share another screen. Let's see if I can do that so I can help people. Let me take that. I will put it into Safari. So which is a browser that doesn't know me. Let me just switch screens. I will share Safari. Okay, so this browser doesn't know me, so therefore it doesn't think I've ever been to Mozilla Hubs before. So what first of all you'll get is a request to use your microphone. And you normally want to allow this to talk to people. And what happened? Oh, here we go. Yeah. I'm no longer sharing. That's what happened. Let me try that again. Share. Try it again. All right. So then you'll be confronted either with this space, or if you went into the other space, you'll be confronted with an underwater palace scene. And you can click Join Room. And you'll get a random avatar. You can change that if you like. And you also get a very random name. So you can also change that. And then finally, you get a chance to test your audio. I'm actually going to mute myself because I'm obviously talking on Zoom. And then I'm going to enter the room. And I can see at least a few other people with me. So once I'm in, I'm going to skip the tour because I don't read instructions. And I'm going to use my arrow keys to explore. And then if I want to move, I'm going to hold down my left mouse button and turn. Woo! Oh, and you can fly, yes. As I can see some people soaring off into space. And then if I don't want to just move around normally, I can hit the right mouse button. I should be able to. Oh, that's just turning me. Maybe I can't teleport on this scene. Oh, well, you can move with arrow keys. So how is everybody finding that? Where is my chat gone? Oh, there's a problem with Urashima. Vanessa, did that get fixed or is that still a problem? She's just messaged me.
Not sure. I gave up and I'm loading into Ryugu, but I don't know if it was just me.
Okay, well, let me try the Urashima one. I will try leaving this room and going into Urashima. Yes, leave room. Okay. So I can see people are in the Ryugu one. If this one is broken, that's a pity because it's very cool, but we can load up another scene. I have some backups. That is being surprisingly slow. Oh, there we go. It is okay. So this is the second scene that people are investigating, and it is designed to be an underwater palace. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that once I'm confident everyone is okay. Let me just join that room. I'm going to mute myself. There we go. And this is what the second scene looks like. This is actually a really big scene, so there's quite a lot to explore. Hey, Aidan. So there's an example of someone with hands. Thank you, Aidan. That's great. So that's what it looks like if you're actually in a VR headset. And the experience is actually really good on both desktop or VR. But if you do have a VR headset, then you can see it's a more natural movement. Like they can move their head more easily, they move their hands, they can gesture just like you would in real life. They can do a dance in the middle of a fish pond. So it becomes much more sort of natural in terms of meeting people. Good gracious, there's a strange fairy. Oh my goodness, I love these avatars. People, you've been so imaginative. This is wonderful. I love it. And VR headsets nowadays, it's worth mentioning they've come down a lot in price. I have my own headset, but if I put it on, I couldn't see you all in Zoom. So I decided to stay on my desktop. And nowadays, the headsets are standalone. It used to be only a few years ago that if you wanted a virtual reality headset, you also had to get a very high-end gaming PC to connect it to. So you were looking at a total package of thousands of dollars, which is a really big buy-in if you're not sure whether it's any good. But nowadays, products such as the Meta Quest or the Meta Quest 2 are completely standalone. You don't need any other computer to connect them to. And they now retail for the same price roughly as a gaming console, sort of similar or slightly cheaper than a PlayStation. So it's not nothing, but if you compared it to the cost of, you know, traveling for an international trip, especially if you are an academic who does conferences, then it's, you know, a minuscule price compared to that, and you can keep using it. So it's something to consider if you get very involved in virtual events. I would say I love my virtual reality headset. So let me tell you a bit about these spaces. And if you have any questions or things are going wrong, shout at me in chat and I will either rescue you myself or send a rescue mission from someone from T-Form. The first space, the Ryugu asteroid, this is real data that was imaged by the Hayabusa 2 spacecraft, which visited asteroid Ryugu. It was launched in 2014. It reached the asteroid in June 2018, and it spent 1.5 years exploring that asteroid and collecting 2 samples. And it brought those samples back to Earth at the end of 2020, and they're currently being analysed to see what they can tell us about the formation of our planet and perhaps even how life began. Now, the site you are standing on when you're on asteroid Ryugu is very close to where that first sample was taken from. So the spacecraft I have hidden there is fortunately not what happened. Hayabusa 2 did not crash and end up on its side behind a rock. Instead, it touched down very briefly, gathered some material and lifted off the asteroid's surface again. And in total, about 5.4 grams of material was returned to Earth from 2 different sites. So the second visit that we're in, this Urashima Palace, underwater palace that I'm sharing my screen for now, this is actually from the Japanese folktale of Urashima Taro, and it's where asteroid Ryugu gets its name. So once we saw asteroid Ryugu, we as in JAXA ran a name suggestion campaign where we asked people for their name suggestions, and one of the popular ones was Ryugu, and it's taken from this scene in Urashima Taro, which is the underwater palace of Ryugu-jo. And the story of Urashima Taro is that there was a fisherman who sees a sea turtle being hurt by children, and he rescues this turtle and returns it to the sea. And the turtle rewards him by taking him on its back to this underwater palace of Ryugu-jo, where he meets the princess Otohime. And he stays with Otohime for what he believes is 3 days, and at the end says he really must return to the surface. So Otohime... Oh, sorry, someone's got their mic on. I'm hearing an echo. Otohime gives him a box and says, okay, you can return to the surface, take this box and never open it. I feel the rest of the story is slightly predictable as a result. But nevertheless, he says, fine. He goes to the surface with this closed box. But when he arrives back at home, everything has changed. And he finds that while it was 3 days in the underwater palace of Urashima, of Ryugu-jo, actually hundreds of years have passed back on land. And so in confusion about this, he opens the box, he's enveloped in a white smoke, and when that smoke clears, he becomes an old man because that box contains his age. And the link here is partially because Hayabusa 2 also brought back this kind of treasure box from asteroid Ryugu, and it's designed to tell us about the start of our planet and about how life began. So in some ways that also contains our age. And also one of the key questions that Hayabusa 2 is trying to find answers to is how water came to the Earth. It might have been delivered in asteroids similar to that as asteroid Ryugu. And again, we have this underwater palace. There's this joint sort of water theme between the 2 scenes. Oh, so I have a question here, just a direct message saying, I'm on asteroid Ryugu, my view keeps turning upside down and I can't turn it back on. Oh, if someone is in the Ryugu scene, could they try and find Masako Hino-san and see if they can sort them out? They seem to be upside down. I'm not quite sure why that's happening. Maybe you've accidentally turned upside down. That is surprisingly possible within a scene. Vanessa or Glenn, are you able to go and perform some sort of rescue mission? Or of course we could talk about it later. I'm going to hope that's happening and they can hear me. I can see people in this scene on the underwater palace scene. Of course, if you're bored of your scene, do exit. You can leave at the bottom of the screen. There's a leave button down here, and you can switch scenes and come and try out the other one as well. Ooh, hi, Aidan. Oh, I can teleport in this scene. Come on, teleport. There, vroom. And here is the spacecraft So I am going to graffiti this. Here is my pen. Hello. Whee. There we go. That looks very good. The real Hayabusa 2 should have had similar artwork decorated on its panels. Oh, Hino-san, Vanessa's going to try and find you. She's heading back to the Ryugu scene. Yeah, that is good. That is a good hello. I think I can change my color somehow. I'll just type that in. It is Hino-san, Vanessa. But Hino-san may not have their true name written above their avatar, so that might be a challenge. It might be hard to find them. Hino-san, if you see Vanessa, go across to her, because she may not be able to tell it's you unless you've changed your name above your avatar. Saving photos, that's an interesting question. Let me see. Let me do a camera and find out. Okay, I'm going to take a photo. Let me turn my pen off. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Click. Oh, there we go. All right, now how do I save that? Gosh, I look good. I can tweet it. Can I save it? I think if I go into objects up here, I can see that photo. And then, can I download it? I can get the link to it here, and now I can download it. So Christine asked that question. Christine, were you able to follow that? So if you take a photo, you can then see it in objects, and then you can find the link to it, and then you can download it. That is a little involved, I will admit. Okay, let's turn the camera off. Ooh, I've got a photo just sitting here. Maybe I can delete that too. Okay, so there's my photo, and I'm going to delete that from the scene because it's a bit confusing. And I'm going out to explore. Oh, I got stuck. There we go. When I get stuck, I tend to teleport. This is one of my favorite scenes, I have to admit. It's really pretty. Okay, guys, we have only 6 minutes left of this workshop. So in a few minutes, I'm going to summon you all back to Zoom, just as a heads up, especially if you're upside down and confused. So if you want a last-minute trial of a second scene, now would be your moment. Where am I? I'm still among the water lilies. So the thing I like most about these two scenes is that you could never visit them in person. So the furthest humans have ever traveled is currently the moon. So we're not really at the stage of visiting asteroids yet. And of course, the Palace of Ryugu is a mythological folk tale. So it's not a place we can reasonably visit. We can only really read about it or see images. But with spaces like this, you do get a sense of what it might be like there, and you can explore them. I really enjoy that myself. Okay. Let's start heading back towards Zoom for a last slide follow-up. I'm going to stop sharing that screen. I'm going to go back to this screen and share that one. excellent, participants. Okay, obviously you're welcome to stay in the spaces and explore them, but I am going to start talking again on Zoom, so give me at least half an eyeball for that. So just to wrap up, I wanted to say that the Future of Meetings group does hold events where people can try out these virtual platforms. In particular, we're holding a series of events, and we have the last one coming up, I think next month, on which was being held in AltSpace VR, which is another one of these virtual platforms. And I was going to use it for this demonstration. It's very similar in some ways to Mozilla Hubs. In a sense, it's a free platform and you can access it both from a desktop and a headset. The only thing with AltSpace is that you do have to download the free software app in advance, and that took a bit of time, which is why we use Mozilla Hubs instead. But do check out our website and also our Twitter feed for events. And now I think I will pass you back to Lucy, if that's okay.